Newsfirst Newsline with Faraz Shaukat Ali.
And top of the morning to you. Good morning, this is Newsline, live from the Newsfirst studios in Dawson Street in Colombo. And joining me this morning is the former chairman of the Bank of Ceylon, Mr. Rusripala Tenakon. Very good morning to you, Mr. Tenakon.
Good morning, Faraz.
And we do appreciate your frequent appearances on our network and for your public-spirited actions and opinions.
I prefer to do so and I prefer to continue it.
Thank you. Mr. Rusripala, this government seems to be going from one scam to another. There seems to be no let up in these matters. Now, we were following keenly the issue at the central bank. Now, COPE seems to have got it under control, and various things are going on there. But, Mr. Rusripala, is this enough? In the matter of the call, we had a direction from we had an opinion from the Supreme Court. Although they said that the petitioner, a foreign company, had no standing under the terms of our Constitution, once the Supreme Court dismissed the application, they made it subject to 2 points. One was that they gave the option of cancelling the tender to Lanka Coal Company. Yeah. And two, they said that they can call for tenders afresh. Yeah. But critically, they also said they examined the role of the entire tender evaluation process. And they found that the company that is now in possession of that contract had broken the rules by writing to the committee during the evaluation period. Yeah. They also found that the specification had changed midstream. They were highly critical. In fact, they went so far as to say that the conscience of the court had been aroused. Why then, Mr. Rusripala, is the Secretary of the Ministry writing to the Cabinet and trying to draw the Cabinet into this matter when clearly there is a direction from the Supreme Court?
Yeah. Starting from our role in the recent past about the other matters that we were involved in, particularly the central bank bond issue. Yeah. We are in a happy mood because at least it has got concluded in this form, which could have happened many months ago in this country. Yeah. But now we have to watch very carefully what the COPE is going to do, because it is not the end of the day, because there are so many things that have to be found out or revealed as to exactly what has happened. Yeah. Although we know it, it must be told to the public in that legal format, that they should be in an authentic way. Yeah. So the best forum for that is the COPE. Yeah. And the COPE, I believe, will use or utilize all its capacity and its abilities and authority powers to bring that to light. Then coming back to the other things, the scams one after the other, as you said. Yeah. I mean, it has become an inherent thing in this government. I'm very sorry.
Is corruption endemic?
I think it looks like that. The whole thing emanates from one thing. If somebody is deaf to public opinion, if someone is not listening to public opinion, and someone is not alert to what is happening in the country or what should be looked into in order of priorities, well, everything will be looked at like a scam, But there are certain things that are happening which really warrant further examination and which also creates a lot of suspicion among the public. So this is going on. This has been happening in many fields recently. Now, there is one thing that we would like to touch on, I think, in the future. The new payment gate system to be introduced by the government as a settlement system, replacing an existing system without the approval of the central bank. I think this matter will be the subject of discussion in the future, because it is the cabinet has approved it, and unfortunately the cabinet in this instance too has been, I think, misled, because there is no report or consultation which is mandatorily necessary to be had with the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, because this is a matter that involves payments. Now, coming back to the coal issue, you see, it's very strange that the court, we'll have to wait till the courts declare that their conscience is shocked. I mean, when you say a court of law, the highest court in this country, says that their conscience is shocked, you can imagine how to what degree that shock is there or felt by the public.
Indeed.
Of course, they are examining in a certain limited sphere certain things, the information that they have, but in the public eye, there are so many things that we see, and I think the shock is threefold in the minds of the public. If it is shocking the conscience of the Supreme Court. Now, it is very interesting to note for us, when was this the tender offered? In 2015, just before the elections, in July. Now, the first question that comes into my mind is, was there such a hurry to conclude this for a 100-day government in power?
But to be fair, what about the need? Are we aware of what the requirement was from Lanka coal for the Norwich power plant?
Unless it was a pressing need, unless they can establish that, this adds on to the disturbance of the conscience of people who are looking at it.
But of course, if there was a need, they could have, and as they have been doing, they could have been buying coal from the spot on the spot market.
Exactly.
Which actually, in an ironic sort of way, was cheaper than the contracted price that they entered into.
That's what we observe now. Even if you go to change this now, we'll have to be bound by the market prices today, which are definitely higher than what it was. But then the issue is whether the evaluation committee have done their job properly. And it is commented very clearly that it has not been so.
Why can't they be held responsible?
They have to be held responsible. They have to be held responsible. Because otherwise, what is the purpose in having an evaluation committee for a big tender running into billions? Billions of Sri Lankan rupees. And running into periods well over 1 year to another year. So longer periods, larger amounts, and the involvement of the public funds. So therefore, it is very necessary that those who sit in judgment in evaluating such a tender should be held responsible for the decisions that they have taken.
Bravo and well said. But on the other side, whilst you're saying this, I'm thinking here that we read a column in one of the weekend papers in which it says that there have been instructions being given that certain arrests cannot be made, and this, in those instructions included senior public service officials. Now, you know, when they first started, they, as in this Palane government, when they came in, everybody was applauding them, saying that what they were doing was very good because it sends a message to public, the civil service officials, that they must not get carried away by instructions given by their political masters, which those instructions, if they were going to be detrimental to the public good, as in the public purse, then these public officials were told, obviously in no uncertain terms, don't play ball. And so all these activities of the FCID and the press effect and so on serve to send a message to civil service personnel that the law was very much on their side, don't be intimidated, and so everyone was quite happy. But we now find that some of these officials, even though they appear to have a prima facie case, and they've been in and out of the remand, there's no prosecution for them. So they're getting away with it. Even though the money might be just 5 million rupees, in one instance, there is much more than that. And so then what happens? So you're saying one thing. So these guys, they take all sorts of absolutely cockeyed decisions, and they cost the people money.
For us, what I should say about this is, I think the public, at least those activists who were concerned about the frauds and the corruption that was prevailing, have totally lost the credibility factor in the proclamations made by this government while coming into power, that they will eradicate corruption, they will expose corruption. Now what is happening today? Take the people who are charged. What are they charged for? Distributing roof sheets, distributing school books, distributing pipes, setting up water lines. I mean, is this what the people expected? This is not what the people expected. We were told about huge amounts of money squandered from this country, lying elsewhere, lying overseas accounts. So, I mean, we were waiting for that great day.
And exactly, you got a very good point there. One of our ministers claimed that it was 18 billion.
Exactly.
Well, that's fine. Now they also claim that Sri Lanka is almost the darling of the West, finally, because of their efforts. Right? So if they are the darling of the West, then why is it that they're not commandeering the help and support of the West for quick action to find this 18 billion? Believe me, our viewers, if they had $18 billion in the central bank, there would have been no need to raise VAT or the taxes on the cars and so on. Believe me, 18 billion is way ahead of what our finance minister is trying to collect from these taxes. Which brings us to another point. I wonder if you read in yesterday's press the statement made by the chairman of the Institute of Policy Studies, who has been highly critical. He says that he insisted that the previous two budgets were disasters, that bad appointments and messy decision-making was halting progress. He also goes to say that the decisions made by this government were more for Colombo's elite than for the rural folks, and they appeared to have been forgotten, which reflects on what we as a network have found when we did our Gammadda programs. Gammadda revealed abject poverty, serious poverty, and an appalling lack of commitment to alleviate the suffering of the rural masses. And they are the people, Mr. Rusripala, who have more votes than Colombo's so-called elite.
Well, I fully agree, and I'm happy that a person in that capacity like Dr. Razin Zali has made this statement, and he has taken it important to pronounce his findings on this matter. But before I come to that, I would like to make a comment on this. You know, this prosecution and the FCID affair, it appears that it's taking a totally different turn.
It is.
With the Prime Minister making an announcement that unless you have 200% evidence, you should not prosecute.
And why is the Prime Minister involving himself on matters judicial?
I do not know. I mean, that statement is a very intriguing statement, because, if you have 200% evidence, I mean, there is nothing to prosecute. It's an open affair. Open affair. But the idea of a prosecution is to find out what is hidden, what is not coming out in normal evidence that is available. In an examination in a court of law, there are a lot of things that will come to light in matters of corruption. So what he says is, unless the case is prima facie established beyond doubt, you don't have to prosecute or you don't have to go to courts. I mean, it looks for me, this whole affair of prosecuting people, charging them, accusing them, alleging them, has been a survival requirement for the government politically, not for any other purpose, not with the genuine intention of bringing the people to book.
What an absolute pity that is.
That is
what
definitely.
a pity.
And you
what
see,
a pity, because on the face of it, the FCID and Pressifac were absolutely brilliant ideas. And they have their independence appears to have been bartered by the actions of politicians. How very sad. On that note, we're going to take a short break. Don't go away too long, because after all, this is Newsline.
Newsfirst, Newsline with Faraz Shaukat.
Welcome back to Newsline. Good morning, and joining us this morning is Mr. Rusripala Tenakun, former chairman, Bank of Ceylon. And Mr. Rusripala, isn't it, how critical is it to have critical comment?
I think looking at the recent past in this country, before the government came into power, while the government was in sort of the 100-day period, and after the formation of the new government, I mean, right throughout, I think it is the critics that kept the government going, and it is the critics that kept things open, which otherwise could have gone completely lost to the public in this country. It is very important for people like Dr. Achin Sali to come up with this, his comments, because I mean, he being involved in the policy making in some form or the other in those forums, for a person like him to comment and say that we see haywire in the economic planning in this country is something that the public should know and pay more attention. In fact, of course, it is no new news to the public. They know how haywire it is because through their suffering.
Indeed.
But in addition to that, if authorities pronounce this type of thing, it's very good. Whereas I like to just cite an example. Our economy, in my own view, is both astronomical and astrologically affected. You know, it is astronomical because it keeps on rising, you know, the economy, the people suffering due to cost of living is going astronomically high. It is astrological because, you know, these astrology forecasts are based on planetary changes. You know, there's nothing constant. When a planet changes, you forecast changes. Here it is like this. How many policy statements far as we have had in this country since the new government came into power? How many new pronouncements? How many policy statements? How many package offers? So I mean, now we are waiting for the day that the 5-year plan, that the Singapore Tamasak model and the Singapore megapolis involvement and the Singapore involvement in the reshaping of the economy of the country plus the modeling of the cities, all this in the Singapore way. We are waiting for that day being handed over to a person who was found publicly unfit to continue in a position in the main economic hub of this country. It is being handed over to such a person, and we are told, we are shocked. It is true that over the coal affair, the Supreme Court was, their conscience was shocked. I mean, we are more shocked with this state of affairs, with this Singapore influence coming in such a big way, and through nobody else other than this very person who was found unfit to hold this position in this country.
Well, the Auditor General was quite critical of his professional delivery, that there was an abandoning of this primary duty of care. But what do you think, as an analyst, what would you say? Do you think this chap will be retained by the Prime Minister in some shape or form?
I think the attempts are very clear. It is obvious that he is trying to retain him in some form or the other. I don't know whether it is for the lack of exposure, lack of knowledge or whatever, or the inputs that he has which they think that no one else has, you know, maybe for some reason. But it is very obvious that there is a very strong effort, and we know, having read the papers, I mean, in the public media we have read even the His Excellency the President has been very critical about the continuation of this person in these vital, very important positions and very strategic planning processes.
But thereafter we have announcements from the Secretaries General of the two mainstream parties, Kabir Hashim and Duminda Dissanayake, that this National Consensus government will go its full term.
Yes.
There was some expectation that it may only last for the 2 years.
Yes.
The initial 2 years that they agreed upon.
Yes.
What does that do? What does it say? Is there some panic that this can't last?
Definitely there is a panicky situation, because although it has not surfaced fully, the civic society involvement and their comments and their observations about these matters, it has not really surfaced fully yet. But people know, as a latent factor, it is very important and significant. They cannot forget this. So before that comes out, I think the people who wish to remain in power and continue these affairs will want to re-establish their positions, to retighten their bondings. So that is important. So that is the exercise, and that comes in the wake of various announcements, like the non-prosecution of people without or corrupt people who are charged with corruption without 200% evidence and so on, are all interconnected. As far as I can see, these are all survival games. There is nothing sacrosanct about those statements to say, at the time when there is a sort of a critical observations being made by people in authority, all these things come in the wake. The non-prosecutions, then the need for agreement between the parties, all this comes in the wake of such things. So it's a survival game.
And what do you think? Do you think, though, that like some of these things, like the freedom, the independence of the media and so on, which is now far more, there's less fear now, isn't there? Like those changes, do you think that this government is changing slowly but surely, or don't detect a change and it's just going from one scandal and one scam to another, where it's a continuous robbery of the people's money?
According to the declarations and the promises that they gave before the election to come to power, there are certain things that they have to do mandatory, because the people otherwise will not have any faith in this government, like the freedom of the press and so on. The change in the constitution, which was half done, but not even half done. Actually, what should have been included in that amendment did not go into that amendment, because that was done in such a hurry and with such disregard of what is important in the order of priority. So for that reason, some of these things have come, and it is good. Of course, we appreciate those. The government has to do it, and government has promised to do it, and the people expected that such things will come out.
And people have a legitimate expectation of change for the better.
Definitely. And it is as a part of that legitimate expectation, this performance that what we are seeing today. But with regard to the scams, the scams go on. They are really bad. I think the actual situation is, we are bringing legitimacy to some of the corruptions now. We are trying to do it in a more legalistic way. Now opening up, the capital accounts, the proposal to open up these exchange systems, no exchange control affairs, relaxations, all these things are directed apparently in this context of what is happening in these various camps that we have seen. Very suspicious. Whether we are going to bring legitimacy to all these corrupt activities, you see. So that is the thing that the civic society critics will have to take note of, and then bring it to the open and to the public.
Yeah.
Because even the cabinet, I'm sure, now take the VAT example, the VAT solution for tax matter. Now this cabinet, they passed the cabinet paper, they submitted the cabinet paper, they brought it up. And it was, if not for the voice of the people, if not for the opposition and the demonstrations that we started seeing, this could have gone on without being changed. So therefore, no matter whether matters have been taken up at the cabinet level or approved at the cabinet level, the public, the critics, the media will have to continue their role in exposing them in the right way and critically analyzing those things. Now, there are some cabinet decisions. Apparently, we see that the due consideration that the cabinet should have given in passing them has not been given. Now, for example, the one that I mentioned at the beginning of this discussion, this payment system, payment platform thing, it deserves a careful and a very big exposition and a critical analysis, because it is exchange, it is money, it is settlement between the banks, and we are giving a front end to the people, the public or anyone else to come into that system and exchange monies. There are various things that can come into play, like the Bitcoin operations, which are not very, very accommodated in other countries in this form. So such matters need to be discussed, and you have an important role to play for us, I should say, the media.
Yes, but I'm also a bit concerned that whilst we weren't able to be so robust and so on in the past, we are now, but in spite of what we bring to their notice, the success rate of obtaining proper change is very, very small.
This is again what we have been repeatedly saying or stating at discussions at various forums. The care and the attention that is paid to public opinion is very poor, I should say. Because there is a marked difference from, I'm sorry to say this, between the two parties in the government, from what the president feels and from what the side led by the prime minister feels, we see a very big difference. Take the matter, for example. The president had to make twice, more than once, public statements that he is totally unhappy about this VAT introduction.
It's about time, in short, that you're saying that the United National Party falls in line so that both the President and Prime Minister Wickremesinghe can go on one journey together. It is difficult to go on one journey together when one party is the baggage.
Exactly. This is the critical thing that is now in the air today. Which party is going to adjust, and for whose need that they are going to adjust. Now this adjustment is necessary from the public eye and from the public view for the sake of the public interest, not for the interest of the survival.
That's the billion-dollar question that we're all seeking answers to.
Yes.
But in the meantime, Mr. Rusripala Tennakoon, many thanks for having been on Newsline. We appreciate your presence, and you're welcome on our network at any time. Thank you very much. Thank you for having watched Newsline. Take care. Have a super week. We're here Monday through Friday, same time, same place, live from Dawson Street. Take care and God bless.